For more on this, let's cross live then to the ConCourt, where our reporter Natasha Phiri is on standby outside the court this morning. Natasha, good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Flo, Richard, and of course our Afro viewers. Indeed, I mean, just listening to Professor Shadrack Guto, had said that this is quite a very important case, a landmark case, more specifically, towards our justice system, as of course we're all awaiting, proceedings in the ConCourt to actually start, so that we can hear what Shaun Abrahams' fate is, as we all know that the Constitutional Court will hand down judgment regarding his fitness to hold office. If you remember, last year in December 2017, the North Gauteng High Court had actually declared the president's conduct, in Ngasana's, appointment as the National Director of Public Prosecutions, and the appointment of Shaun Abrahams to the position, of the NDPP as unconstitutional, therefore invalid. And just to give you a timeline, Flow, of where this all started, you know that in October 2013, Ngasana was appointed there as the National Director of Public Prosecutions. In the following year of June 2014, the then president, former President Jacob Zuma, decided to institute a commission of inquiry into Ngasana's fitness to hold office. Then later on the same year, in August, Ngasana had launched an urgent application to actually interdict, his suspension. Following that, so in February 2015, the following year, the commission was then formally launched, but by that time we knew that the two parties, the president and Ngasana, had somewhat reached an amicable solution by that time. And of course Ngasana was then given his settlement, or some would say a golden handshake, of 17.3 million rand, and then he vacated his position. Following that, civil society groups like your Corruption Watch, your Freedom and the Law, your Helen Suzman Foundations had then challenged this decision in court, more specifically the issue of the settlement and the legality of the termination of Ngasana's appointment. And of course in court they had sought an order setting aside the settlement agreement, and of course had asked for Ngasana's reinstatement, or alternatively the then deputy president, who was at that time Cyril Ramaphosa, to appoint a new national director of public prosecutions in 30 days. We all know that the High Court then had held the conclusion of an agreement between the President, Ngasana, and of course the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, and the payment of 17.3 million rand that it did not meet statutory requirements and therefore was invalid. So what we're just basically going to see today in court, Shaun Abrahams and the National Prosecuting Authority will seek leave to appeal the North Gauteng High Court's order. Furthermore, Shaun Abrahams will be appealing an order setting aside his appointment, and of course those civil society groups, your Corruption Watch, Helen Suzman Foundation, and Freedom and the Law, will be seeking reinstatement of Ngasana. And basically, I mean, this all means that Ngasana also himself wants his job back. We also know that Shaun Abrahams as well also took to the courts last year to appeal the North Gauteng's ruling, saying that, and argued that it would be unfair for him when he's not been declared, I beg your pardon, would be unfair to remove him if he has not been declared unfit for his job. So we still anxiously await to see whether the Constitutional Court, will be ordering or declaring that Shaun Abrahams vacate his position or keep his position. And if he vacates his position, then President Cyril Ramaphosa will have to possibly apply his mind in appointing the new National Director of Public Prosecutions. But of course, as Afro Worldview, we will give you the latest developments and updates as soon as court proceedings actually start, as to whether Shaun Abrahams will keep his position or not, and of course get reactions from those various civil society groups. Back to you, Flo and Richard.
Thank you very much, Natasha, for that in-depth timeline you've given us. Of course, she's live there at the Constitutional Court this morning. No doubt we'll be crossing in and out of court and speaking to her throughout the morning.